welcome to Natty's Home Cooking, and today we are making the low-fat chicken and shrimp Alfredo. We are going to be using wheat flour for our pasta, so I'm going to be adding in 3 cups of wheat flour, and then I will add, I think it's a total of 7 eggs, free-range eggs. The reason why I use free-range is because it's much more healthier than the store-bought. And I know some of you probably don't have chickens in your backyard that lay eggs, so store bought is just as fine. But if you have access to free range, use those. Those are very healthy for you. Now my dough is still a little dry, so I'm going to add another egg to it. This makes a total of 7 altogether. And then if it's still dry even after adding this egg, just add a little bit of water to it, just a little bit. You don't want to do too much. So I'm just going to continue to work this dough until I get it into a ball. I'm going to take it out and put it on the counter here. So I did add a little bit more water to it. And I don't want it too wet either, because then it means I gotta add more flour to the dough whenever I go to roll it out for the machine that I use on my blender. I do my dishes as I go. I don't let them, I hate dishes in the sink, so they bother me. That's why I try to get them done as much as I can. We're going to fill this all the way up, probably about right there or a little more. So that 2/3 max. A little bit of olive oil to my water. This helps it to where the noodles won't stick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shape this dough, and then we're going to cut it into smaller pieces. And once you get those cut, down, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of flatten this dough out as much as we can with the roller here. And then I'm going to, once I get it all rolled out, now I'm going to tell you right now, you do not want this dough sticky going through the roller press, because if you do, it's going to stick, it's going to come out pretty bad, and you're going to have to redo it. So try to, get it as stiff as you can when rolling this out. Kind of like how I'm doing here. I do add wheat flour to it so that I can work with it, and just keep trying to press it out as much as you can before putting it through the actual flat roller. And then once you get it flat enough, then you can put it through the spaghetti roller. So the spaghetti cutter. But I'm going to go ahead and get my device here set up for the flat roller, and it's going to come through. And this is how it looks when it comes through. Just like a big old flat sheet here. And if it feels too sticky, just fold it back up and redo it again, which is what I do here. I just go ahead and fold it back up. And then I'm going to re-roll, because see how sticky it is? It's still way too sticky. So I'm just going to reshape it again, and then roll it out again, just like so. If you have to add more flour, do so. Now I'm going to feed it through the roller again and see how it turns out. For me, it's still too sticky. See how it's breaking apart? I don't want it that way, because then my spaghetti noodles will not turn out right. So I got to fold it up again. I'm going to add a little bit of flour to the dough. And see, that's what I'm, when I was telling you at the very beginning, whenever we're mixing that dough, you don't want it too wet. And that's what I did. I got it a little bit too damp for it. So now I've got to work on it and get it to where I need it to be. And it's almost there to where it will be stiff enough to make the spaghetti noodles. Now I got to roll it through the roller here, the machine, after I get it flat enough to go through, because it's going to feed through the roller. And I should have showed my roller to you guys from the machine that I use. And I just got mine off Blender. Okay, it looks a little bit better. For me, I still am not that happy with it. Oh, actually I did. I put it away. So I'm going to set it to the side and let it dry. I draped it over a bowl. And I'm just going to continue to work on the rest of these doughs. And then once they are all flattened out and done, I'm going to feed it through the spaghetti feeder over there. Okay, so now I am starting my spaghetti noodles. You can tell how they look. They're actually looking really, really great. So they're coming through pretty good, not very sticky. And if they feel a little sticky where they're starting to stick together, take a little bit of wheat flour, sprinkle it on there, and then mix it up like that so that they don't stick too much. Okay, you don't want them to be too sticky. So I just add a little bit of wheat flour in it and kind of mix it together. Now I just take each one of these ones that I have flattened out and I'm just feeding it through the spaghetti feeder. So they're turning out really great. I was really, really impressed with the noodles that came. I've never done wheat noodles. This is my first time, so I was pretty happy about it. And I've always done the white noodles, and I'm telling you, I love the wheat noodles. They're much more better for me. Which I have to do the Mediterranean diet now, so this was a good little thing that I've learned. So I'm happy that I learned how to make wheat noodles now. Okay, so now that we got our water boiling, we can go ahead and add in our noodles. So I'm going to add these in here and let them boil. We're just going to let them boil for a little while. And then while they're boiling, we're going to start on our chicken and our shrimp. So I'm going to dice up these chickens here. And I always cut my chicken breast, always. And I just kind of tear away the rest that I don't need. So, and every little scrap I save, I either do composting. Now with my chicken, the little scraps from my chicken, I will actually cook it up for my dogs and let them eat that once it cools down. And then the vegetable composting, I just do composting for that. Now I'm going to cut up some sweet potatoes because I love sweet potatoes. I'm going to cook these on the side, just a little separate dish, but because it does give it like a sweet flavor for um, the noodles, well, for the Alfredo is what I'm trying to say. So I cook these on the side and let them kind of saute up together. And then I will actually add these to the top of my pasta. So those are going to cook separately by themselves. Now I'm going to start on my zucchini and I'm going to cut these up, dice these up, and they are going to be part of my Alfredo pasta. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these up in little dices and then saute these up with the red onions and tomatoes. And I do add a little bit of broccoli as well with these, with the squash while they're cooking. Okay, now that we got them into the pan and we got our sweet potatoes on the back burner cooking as well, I'm going to add in some Mrs. Dash. Mrs. Dash doesn't have any sodium to it, which is why I use it. I do use several different types of Mrs. Dash. I use the Chipotle Mrs. Dash, onion and herb, and garlic and herb. So it gives me different flavors that I can use for my cooking. Now, I add that to it. I do add a little bit of garlic powder, and I do sprinkle on pepper as well, even though Mrs. Dash does have quite a few things already in it. And I already added Mrs. Dash to my chicken, and that's cooking it in the olive oil. So we're just letting that sear up and fry up a little bit. And once that gets done cooking, we're going to add in our special sauce that I'm going to show you how to make. Okay, now we're gonna start on our red onions, dicing those up. We will be adding these red onions to our chicken and also to our squash. We're gonna let them marinate all together. Make sure to mix it up really good. Start on your tomatoes and your broccoli. I've already got my broccoli done. I forgot to show you guys that. So I add my tomatoes to my chicken and let that cook all together and mix it up really well. See how it's getting that kind of crispiness to the bottom of that pan? You want that because that's going to be great for your sauce or for your Alfredo. So now I'm adding um, Parmesan, and we're going to add that Parmesan. Next, we're going to be adding in some Greek yogurt, just plain Greek yogurt, and then fat-free milk. And what we're going to do, and you're going to also add garlic powder, and then mix that up really, really well. Once you get that mixed up, you're just going to add it to the chicken. This is going to give it that sauce, that creamy sauce, because unfortunately I can't have like butter and all that other stuff. So this is just, like I said, a low-fat Alfredo that we're using. Now, some people don't like the Greek yogurt. That's fine. Add some cottage cheese to it. So we're just going to mix this up really well. And I could have added cottage cheese. I would have been really good with it. But I liked how this turned out with the Greek yogurt and the milk and the Parmesan. It turned out really good. And if you need a little bit more, you can add just a little more. Just add more Parmesan and a little bit of milk. Don't add no more Greek yogurt. Just milk and Parmesan. And then mix that up really, really well. Make sure you guys taste as you go too, so that you got that flavor in there. And if you have to add more garlic, or if you need it more Mrs. Dash, or if you do need a little bit of salt, add sea salt. Don't use the table salt. Just use the sea salt and just do a sprinkle if you need it. Okay, and then once you get that done, let it simmer, okay? So you're just going to let it simmer while you're cooking your shrimp, because we're going to be cooking our shrimp up here in a second. Now I do use my more Parmesan, and I put a bay leaf in there. You can also use some Italian seasoning, which I didn't add the Italian seasoning because there was a lot of seasonings that I used from my Mrs. Dash. Like I said, they do have different flavors for Mrs. Dash, so if you want to use a different flavor, go for it. But I do add more garlic powder as well. So I'm going to cover this and let it just simmer so that I can get that nice texture that I need, that creamy texture to this for the Alfredo that I'm looking for. Okay, I'm going to add in some mozzarella. So I'm going to mix this in here before we cover it, because I want to make sure all the flavors and everything that I need in here for my Alfredo. And it tastes really good. It's got the flavor there now. I just needed to tweak it up a little bit more, and which is what you're probably going to end up having to do, is tweak it up. I did add a little bit more milk to give it more a liquidy, so that we have more sauce for our noodles, because I don't want it just to be all chicken and shrimp. I want some of that sauce in there for the noodles. And I am feeding 4 people, so I got to make sure I have it all in here. I'm slowly getting everybody on this Mediterranean diet in the household, because it is very healthy for us. This is the way we should be eating. None of that other fatty stuff and caffeine and sugars. We don't need that in our body. We need healthy stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do. All right, so once we get all that mixed in here, I did add a little bit of sea salt to it because the flavor just wasn't there just yet. So we did add that in there, and then I covered it up, and I'm just going to let it simmer all together, and this way those seasonings will all get mixed in together. Now I'm going to start sauteing my shrimp, and I always let my butter and my garlic, this is my garlic, I do let that simmer together for a little bit before I add that shrimp. So once you get the shrimp on, start cooking it until it turns to a bright pink. You don't want it to look white. So they'll start turning to a different color, like a light pink. That's when you kind of know that they're done. You don't want to overcook them either, but you definitely want them to be done. So don't overcook them, undercook them. All right, so they're looking really good. They're cooking up pretty good. And then make sure you stir as you go as well. Okay, guys, now it's time to prepare my meals here for the family. This is how I've been doing it here lately, is putting them in these little dishes and serving it to the family. So, because most of the time they're in their rooms playing games or working, so I just take it up to them or they can come down and get the dish. But I'm adding the wheat pasta to the bowls. Then I'm going to start sprinkling in the shrimp and chicken Alfredo, which looks amazing. And it was so good. I can't wait for you guys to try this, just to give it a try. So adding all that in here. And then once you add the shrimp and chicken Alfredo, add some mozzarella on top of it, or feta cheese. You can do that. And then I hope you guys enjoy it. I mean, it was really great. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I do appreciate you guys watching my videos. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And you all have a wonderful and safe day. And God bless. Take care.